maybe.
Oh, gotta get my headphones here. Hi, Gail.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good. All is well, I hope, at 408 Montague Road.
It is. I have not had the time yet to set up the network back to the way it was, but I will probably this weekend or early next week. But oh my gosh, it was all my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault.
Well,
it started by those Juniper Networks
right.
devices.
If I just would have left well enough alone, it would have been fine.
No, don't. No, I would have fiddled and farted around with it too, just to see. But well, I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, mostly I'm glad it wasn't something widespread and terrible that was affecting all sorts of customers. It could have been so much worse.
Yeah. So we think maybe 160. I mean, it seemed to be scattered throughout all of the areas, FSA 01 through 04. So it was. I don't know. I wish I knew the exact mechanism by which this problem manifests itself. Why it would affect one person and not another. The duplicate IP addresses. Is it just a timing thing? I don't know. I don't think any of us know.
Yeah, we'd have to understand the inner workings of that Juniper switch and how exactly it assigns the DCHP things. So.
And there's Steve. You're muted, Steve.
How's that?
Oh,
that's
wonderful.
Better.
Yeah, that's great. And Ayers.
How do you do?
Pretty good.
Ayers, did you make it to Florida at all this year? Or did you
Well,
and Peggy stay here?
We stayed here the whole year,
Wow.
and yeah, I'm fighting with this. What is it? Bladder biopsy. I just had one today, and Peggy's working on getting some advanced treatment for Parkinson's.
I'm sorry to hear that. That takes up so much time, all those medical appointments.
Yeah, it does, and of course we're medical snobs, so we got to come back here to Cambridge. So.
Yep, lots of travel. Well, I know Kent isn't coming because he is driving down to Florida as we meet tonight.
Good for him.
Yep.
In my ignorance, I can bother Graham with this later, but we got back from one of our little journeys. I guess Sunday I had to come down to Cambridge just to have a COVID test 3 days before this, and then drive right back again. And I noticed I came in and I sent Graham a text. What does it mean when the white Linksys light on the rudder is blinking?
Oh, a familiar problem.
We all know what that means now.
I didn't really, I think there's correct me if I'm wrong, but what do I do to reboot an ONT, or does that have to come from the hot or from Crocker?
Well, you can do your own reboot, and all you need to do for that is unplug it. So take the little barrel power connector out, wait about 30 seconds, and then plug it back in, and that's it. That's how you reboot the ONT.
Oh, for goodness sake. And it's a cigarette size, pack of cigarette thing size, the black thing.
Correct. Correct.
Or reboot the router, or rebooting the router could also have the same positive effect.
Well, I did that first because I remembered how to do that. I looked at the ONT and I said, oh my God, does the ONT get its power from outside?
No, it doesn't. It's another wall wart, as they say. Little black thing that plugs into the wall.
Graham, you're muted. Graham, you're muted.
Yeah, your ONT is sometimes powered by your cyber power battery pack. So you actually got to pull the barrel connector out, like Gail said.
Okay, of the ONT device.
Okay. Yeah.
That's easy.
And Steve, in answer to your question by email, I looked up the phone call that we were talking just a little before 1 o'clock, according to my telephone log. And it's because of daylight saving. We all felt it was a little earlier, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but well, we can talk about that when we go through this outage thing, but we were out long before 12:20 p.m.
I think we were too.
In fact, because when I called you, it had been out quite a while.
Okay, yeah.
I thought, well, I'm going to start checking to see if other people are out. And in fact, it was when I was talking with you that ours came back on. And yours went out then. So.
Yeah, sorry for joining late. He also said only 160 houses were out, but all of us were out.
Yes, it's hard to believe, isn't it, eh?
So it seems a little, the statistics isn't working here.
Yeah.
Craig, I thought the swamp had been drained. What happened?
Oh, yeah.
They were targeting us.
Uh-huh. This is over in Lawrence Swamp, I think.
All right, well, let's get started. I know that Kent and Frank are not coming tonight, so we definitely have a quorum now. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Steve, you're wearing your green.
I am.
Eric, you're wearing kind of off green.
Well, my grandmother's from, this is green. You just got a bad, whatever. My grandmother's from Ireland. I figured, what the hell?
Yep. Aries, you got some nice green going on with your turtleneck.
Secretly taking off my orange vest.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, those clash. Don't do that.
Yeah, they clash in Ireland too.
Yeah, exactly.
Big time.
All
And
right,
Gail,
so
have your nice green scarf there.
I did. I threw this on. Gotta support the cause here. So let's see. Let's approve the minutes from February 17th. I'd like to make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye, and let me see your
Aye.
hands.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Craig with his mouth full says aye too.
Am I voting? Okay.
Too polite to say aye.
I just like to interject a little comment about the minutes. I know we've had some back and forth about how much detail to have in the minutes. And first I want to say, Jim, I think you're doing a great job on it. And it's very nice of you to accept all of our edits too and incorporate them. A few years back when the new open meeting law came into effect, I remember getting a directive from the state that they were looking for more detail, in minutes. That's what they want us to provide. Obviously, they're not going to be reading the minutes for every committee in every town, but they were indicating that the proper procedure was more detailed. And so that's the way I've tended to go with things. And, you know, on the minutes regarding the budget proposal, I actually wanted it recorded that the different budgets were proposed, and that, you know, we chose one and the reasons for choosing it. So just throwing that out there.
Well, I'm reminded of the fact, well, Craig, you were concerned about too much detail at one point, and so
I was.
I looked over. I mean, these minutes that we're voting on or have voted on right now, there's that long section having to do with the financials, which Steve, I know you added to, which is fine by me. But then again, I thought of your concern, and I'd be curious to know what you think about the length and the detail that we have put into them, whether it's all right or you know what.
So as a former bureaucrat, I just worry. My primary concern is that if there's some detail but not enough, I worry about people misreading the minutes and then us getting in trouble down the road. Somebody saying, "Well, look, it says here in the minutes you X, Y, and Z," and in fact that isn't what we were doing, but the minutes say that's what we were doing. Or I don't know. It's just I worry about the minutes causing trouble down the road.
Yeah.
I think you can get the opposite problem if you don't have enough in there that you just said discussed budget. I mean, that's the opposite. I mean, that doesn't tell anybody anything.
Well,
The longer you make the
get,
minutes, the less likely anyone reads them. So that probably
Well,
keeps you safe.
yeah, but I don't think you can get in trouble for including less. I'm not sure you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
you
not
can't
saying-
get in trouble in
I'm
the
not-
same sense. Yeah.
I'm not saying that the minutes should just say we met and then we adjourned, right? I do think there should be stuff in there, but if there's discussion, I don't know that belongs in the minutes. The outcome should belong in the minutes. The issues should belong in the minutes. But if there's a bunch of back and forth between us, I don't think that should be recorded in the minutes. I don't think that's appropriate.
That's true, I think.
Yeah, it would certainly make the minute keeping easier. I would say we say like we discussed the budget, and in this instance said something like discuss the budget and lowering rates, decided not to because X, Y, and Z if we want to get detailed about it. There's also the fact that this meeting is being recorded, and all of our meetings over the past year have been recorded. And I do wonder if there's going to be I don't know, some kind of adjustment, shall we say, to how minutes are done if these Zoom meetings continue, because not only do people have minutes, they can come and watch the whole meeting.
That's true.
You know, if they have a question or a problem.
And to be fair, I mean, community members could come to our meetings and listen
Sure.
to the whole meeting.
Sure.
But at least they're listening to the whole thing, and they're not missing things. And so the misinterpretation is much less likely.
Yeah.
But I think a carefully written summary is what's needed here, and it provides adequate context to understand. You know, people you could list you could put a transcript and people would still take issue with it. So some people.
Okay,
Yeah.
3 years from now, when we're all,
Trump could have his presidency denying things he said on tape. It's
Mhm.
like, really? You know,
Jim, I hope you're getting all this detail, right?
Um,
3 years from now, when we're hauled either into court or next door, whichever's.
the next door tribunal.
I'd rather be in court.
I'll be busy saying, I told you so.
Yes, you will. Yep. Yeah, I hope if if any townsperson takes an issue, that we have enough history of open communication with folks that they would come to us. But Yeah,
I think they will, and I think these minutes have been great. That's.
Yeah,
know.
I'm not proposing that we not be transparent. I'm not proposing that we not be
Mhm.
transparent. We
Yeah.
should be transparent.
He
Even though you are in
wants
the
to be on the
swamp.
record to say that.
And there is an old saying in legal circles stuff, the more detailed you are, the more detailed you have to be.
That summarizes it very well. Yes.
Yeah, so going forward, let's just keep putting all of our eyes on it and keep trying to walk that line between too much detail and not enough. And anything that is, you know, controversial or could be taken out of context, make sure that we have adequate explanation or take something out so that it doesn't, you know, kind of raise red flags. And, you know, as long as we keep meeting on Zoom, people can always come back and see what we said verbatim.
Yep. And I think that's fine.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the HUT report. So we are getting towards the final, we'll say, security setup. Graham has been wonderful about running all sorts of tests, and Graham, I think the only one we have left is that temperature test.
Yeah, and I let it go because the weekend was so busy with
Yeah, that's okay.
exciting stuff. But yeah, I'll do that this week.
Yep.
Or early next week. Yeah.
Yep. You sent around that
It's
nice.
good you weren't, Graham, it's good you weren't up there Sunday doing it.
Yeah, I thought, well, that's absolutely true. You know, the last person into a facility, I'm very familiar with the phenomena, is like looked at very carefully.
We totally would have blamed you for that if you were in there.
You were in there with a heat gun, did you say, Graham?
Yeah.
What did you point it at? DHCP server?
Yep. So on the screen, Graham, I'm sharing the document that you sent.
Yep.
And I've added and clarified a bunch of things. I don't think we need to take this meeting time to go through it.
No.
I just kind of like moves. It looks like a lot of changes, but mostly it's just adding and moving stuff around, clarifying just regular entry versus unauthorized entry. So why don't you and I work on this offline together?
Sure. So
Okay.
you're going to talk about the an extra webcam, is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, and I believe that I sent this around over email, that we had a inadvertent HUD alarm that was a full-scale alarm that it was a combination of miscommunications that Jim set off. It was great though, because we got to test the whole system, and the police were called and they were sitting outside the hut wondering what the heck was going on. The thing that we figured out, which is a hole in our whole system through this inadvertent test, is that Crocker has no visibility to see into the hut. So imagine this. So Jim didn't know that the alarm had never been disarmed. He did what he needed to do. He left, drove away, and then the alarm went off. Again for this the second time, but there's no one there to disarm it. The hut was empty. Police were called. They show up. The hut door is locked. What's going on?
What are they doing in there?
Yeah, what's going on in there? What's going on in there? And so what we need is Crocker to have visibility into the hut. Now, I have visibility into the hut because I have the Simply Safe system with a camera. The problem is we can't give that to Crocker because it would mean giving the full Simply Safe access, so access to our entire security system, to 40 or so employees.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no way to do that. So, but what they need is just plain old visibility. So I propose that I buy a pet cam, like a baby monitor cam. So these are open, you can set it up open access. So anyone with the website can go in at any time, and they're less than $50. And so that Crocker can have a view into the hut at any time they want. with no risk to our Simply Safe security system.
Will it dispense treats to Graham and Jim when they're there?
It does. We can get the treat dispensers. We could put little Pez candies in there. They
Little
do have
lasers.
those. It can shoot them out. You're laughing, but they actually do have these, and
I know,
there's some
I'm
of the
aware.
options that I looked at. But again, they're very, very reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And that
So
would be good. And then any one of us could also log in, could have that as
right, anybody can look.
Yeah, and the particular advantage, I think Simply Safe already has the requirement to call out the police. It's a little problematic when Crocker totally blindly would have called out the police, or also, inadvertently. The police hate to be turned out.
Right.
is one issue, and they they'll come with and Crocker would have to report that suspected break-in, otherwise the cops won't even go. So it's like they are going to turn up with guns drawn sometimes, and it'd be nice not to have Crocker have to do that if they didn't need to. So I think it's great for them to be able to just look, see, oh, there's no one in the heart, just.
It's not that long a trek for the police.
State cops from Belchertown, you mean?
No, it's for our police.
Oh yeah, if they're there. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, when Officer
Bedtime.
on Monday, when Officer Burgess got the call, I bet they were kind of laughing that you just like walked down the stairs and into the back parking lot to check out the call in. But on their off hours, it would require a state police. And
Yeah.
as we know, we do not have 100% all the time coverage in town.
Yeah.
So
I know from UMass that after students set off security alarms the third time, they offer to charge you like $75 for the first false alarm and 150 for the second, and repeat offenders, they just start shooting. I think.
You gonna put that in the minutes?
Oh no!
Yeah, right.
No.
Here's recording.
So and any objections to that, to me buying one of those cameras and setting it up?
I think
Go
it's
for it.
fine. I think you can get them for even less than that, and you could even put two in if you want from different angles. I mean,
Yeah,
And-
I found some. I found some is for $20.
Yep.
I'm gonna aim for somewhere around 30 to kind of get the quality enough, but this does not have to be super fancy.
yeah, I have a couple that I bought when we left town for a month and a half, and they're pretty good. They even have IR for work. They'll work in the dark.
Yep, that'd be good. The lights will be off most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. We'll get the one with night vision. Craig, any specific manufacturer that you would recommend?
it's
There's
I think
hundreds and hundreds on Amazon.
I know. The ones I have are the company is called Wyze, WYZE, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yep, those got fantastic ratings. The only problem is that they only work with like an Alexa or a Nest system. That you have to
No.
have that main system. At least the ones that I saw.
No, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go back and look. Maybe
Okay.
that's true. I don't think so.
Okay.
I know I could access it from my computer or my phone. I didn't need to access it from Alexa, but yeah, I don't know. I'll go back and look.
Yeah, I don't know if when they say that it's Alexa compatible, if it's a requirement.
No,
You know,
I
like
don't
you
think.
have to have that base
don't
station, or
think so.
maybe it's just compatible.
I'll plug one of them. They're right now. They're unplugged, not doing anything. In fact, if you want to borrow or even have one, I could probably donate that to the cause. But I'll pull it up and make sure that it doesn't require.
I could at least use it to try it out to
Yeah,
how
Yeah.
it works, and then we could buy our own if we like it.
yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to part with it permanently, I'd be more apt just to buy one and set it up
Sure,
once
sure,
instead
sure.
of instead of doing it twice.
I think the enterprise can afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to Steve.
I don't know.
Have to change the budget again, Steve.
Take Doug and lower the rates.
Yep. All right, I will take care of that. All right, let's move on to maintenance and service report. Let's get rid of the little stuff first, and then we'll move on to a discussion of the outage on Sunday. Graham, anything of note?
Yeah, on up until Sunday, they were doing pretty good on their help tickets and stuff like that. Not much going on, and of course the wonderful breakthrough of getting a bunch more toward the covering to the end of the year, right? Of the invoicing for their repairs and stuff. So I don't know whether the invoices have already trickled to Steve yet, but it was reassuring to see that the prices weren't high on a lot of the things. And the other one that that was more easy to notice was where they went out one day on those repairs, on the drop repairs, where they went out on out of hours, early in the piece, so way back when they were going out on off hours and putting in temporary fixes, and then the next day coming back and putting in the permanent fix. You can see that the temporary fix cost more than doing the proper, stuff, because they're improvising, and they're fiddling around. And so anyhow, I think it's an argument for never repairing a drop in the middle of the night.
Yeah, some of those temporary fixes were due to lack of materials.
Yeah, I
sadly.
saw there were some of them as well, but even when they weren't, some of them were fixed the next day, so they probably weren't
Right.
But yeah, it's not useful, I don't think, and then they've got to be really careful to remember to put it back in. So, yeah.
Yep. So we do have we're up to date on all of the billing except for one set that I'll talk about in a minute. Steve, we had talked about putting together just kind of like a way to track all of our outages.
Mhm.
So this is what I put together for that. So we
Great.
have Crocker invoice, invoice costs, all the information about that we know for everyone. So we'll keep this ongoing.
Great.
I think, yeah.
Great.
So I think I'm going to post this in a shared online spot so you can see it too. It'll just make our back and forth with billing better.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So we have the last dispatch happened on December 14th for the last January, February part of this month. So basically 3 months we have had no dispatches. It's kind of amazing. So some of these, as you can see, they didn't get billed. So there's, let's see, four of these that didn't get billed. Here are two that we need to discuss here, and I'll highlight them. So these two, one of these are one of our most expensive ones. You remember good old 29 January Hills? Do you remember that one?
We sure did.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. So that was almost a $3,000 fix on that one. And then there's another one for 78 Pelham Hill Road that happened a few days earlier that was less expensive, but still one of our pricier drop repairs. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Crocker did not get us these bills in time for the deadline. They had an internal error where Tri-Wire had submitted the bills, but they did not get them to us by our deadline. So what I'd like to propose is that, and they said, could you please still pay these? And so what I'd like to propose is that we offer to split this with them. The reason is I want them to have some kind of penalty. I want it to hurt a little bit so that they get on top of these billing issues. Yes, there's these 4 here that we're not paying. And so I'm proposing that we pay half of these 2, because these 4 aren't going to impact Crocker at all, because Triwire didn't get them the invoices in time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But these 2 will. So I do want Crocker to just pay attention to this, make sure that we're serious. We need current billing. We just can't operate our business without it. So
Gail, do we have an estimate? If you scroll over for those 4 that are not owned?
Not officially, but looking at the description of what happened and if it was business or drop off hours, I did put in estimates here.
They're pretty low.
Yeah.
They're all drops. Yeah.
Yeah, drop all simple drops, all during business hours.
Mm.
So
I'm curious. One of them, there are 2 of them here. It's X.
it's what, Surtex?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised at that too, because usually Surtex is great about billing, but Crocker did not get us the bills in time. I don't know if that's a Crocker problem or a Surtex issue.
Okay.
So can I ask a technical question, not billed to us? Us is us. No, it's not Crocker, it's us.
Right, us is us.
Okay.
Yeah. So any objections to me proposing that as the solution to these 2 bills that we pay half of them?
So 30,
To be like 15.
3,700. So
Yeah, it'd be about 1,700, right? Total 1,800.
18
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I'd say propose it, and if they object, we'll talk. But that's sure, why not propose it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as it stands now, we're not paying anything, correct?
Correct. We don't have any official thing in writing, besides the email addresses. I want to penalize them a little bit. I don't want this to turn into a legal thing. I doubt that they would quabble over $1,800, but I don't want that us to turn into something that's a problem for us either.
Yeah, you don't want to piss them off, but you want to let them know that it hurts.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of it's just about accountability. Yeah. All right.
When you say, what is the deadline? Just to clarify for me, when it says not submitted by deadline, what is the deadline?
Right. So way back in January, after 3 months of wrestling with them saying, we know there's been dispatches, you have not submitted any repair bills since August. What is going on?
Right.
And then January, nothing was happening. February, I said, that's it. I'm saying March 1st, you need to get all the bills to us for 2020 or we're not paying them.
And so I think the follow-up question is, what's the legal deadline? Is there some,
well,
if this were to go to court?
Our contract with Crocker, I believe, says they have to bill within 60 days.
Okay.
30, how many days? 30?
60. Yeah, I mean, we looked this up at one point.
Yeah.
A few months back when this was all going on. I think that's
well,
the contract calls for that.
Yeah, it's tricky though, because I think that 60 days only specifically talks about how the subscriber fees are collected and relayed. I don't think that the clause in there mentions repair bills. I think that whole section that talks about the 60-day limit is only for the complicated process of collecting MLP fees and getting those to us. I could be wrong.
That was what we were interested in. No, that's what we were concerned about, wasn't it? Yes.
No, but when this whole issue of the not getting the repair bills came up, we did look into this and looked up the contract, and I certainly could be wrong on this, but I thought that we determined that.
I'm working on my being.
Well, let's look it up.
Okay.
There's always that, right?
What should I look up? 60 days? Nope.
How about just days?
Oh, that's a good one. Days.
30 days.
No, that's termination for insolvency.
All
No.
right, but
Okay, so this is the collection about invoicing and remittance. Yep. So,
and that's
so
30 days.
it's actually 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay,
And again, this is only about the MLP fees, nothing about the
Yeah.
repairs.
sure.
Is this, yeah, so this is still in the MLP fees section. This talks about like, how to remediate any
Yeah.
delays.
Maybe there's nothing about repairs in there.
I think, well, let's keep going because
Well, wait. This says provide sufficient financial information on a monthly basis to verify all
Billing,
maintenance
collection, and maintenance.
and
Yep.
maintenance
That's
expenditure.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sufficient financial information.
Well, I would say the billing is required financial information. No.
Yeah, I would think so. Maintenance expenditure.
well, it says verify all billing.
I think that means customer billing, but the maintenance expenditures is the key clause here in this paragraph.
Mhm.
And there is that further thing, isn't there? Provide access within 5 business days. So that sounds like what you written requested the MLP. I mean, you were asking them before January, so they
Right,
didn't.
being
didn't
very,
make
very
5 days.
generous with that. I
Yeah.
didn't
Did you
say
say-
5 days. I said you have like a month to get
Yeah,
it
yeah.
in.
Did you send written request?
I did. It was over email.
Okay.
Did that count? Does that count as written legally?
Counts as written.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
No,
written.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Really? All
Oh,
right.
I think so.
Nice.
Dale, is that section what, F?
7.10F probably.
Yep, 710F.
Okay.
But 710, could we just go 710, just back up to that, Gail? 710 is invoicing and that's still the invoicing and remittance of MLP fee. So,
Yeah, but I think the maintenance clause in there is what covers it
Yeah.
regardless of that.
yeah. But let's just scroll a little farther as long as we're doing.
Okay, let's see
Sure,
what else
sure.
we got for days. Oh, what's this one? Oh no, it started over. Hold on.
Yeah. I think that is an operative clause.
All right, so default in care. Nope.
Well, while you're looking for it, the other thing to do would be to pay these bills and not, obviously, we're not getting paid for those other ones below that. And just say, hey, look, we're paying them. We're good customers. We're trying to be good customers too. We're paying the bills. If it happens again, we ain't paying them at all. Here's the clause, give them the clause and say, here's the clause. You got to do this within 30 days. And if you don't do it, we're not going to pay the bills at all.
Right.
I suppose given that it's a COVID era, they might come up with some COVID exception thing that,
Well, that's true, yeah.
and some with some legitimacy. I mean, people aren't sitting at their desks in this period. Who knows which bookkeeping person was really.
Yeah, but going from 30 days to 120 or whatever,
Yeah,
that's a big.
No, I agree with that.
Pretty lame.
Okay, repair.
Change logs.
What page are we on here?
We are on page 33 of 40,
So
and I'm almost through all of the days. There's only 3 left.
okay.
So this is talking about non-emergency scheduled outages. Here's our KPIs and termination for insolvency. Okay, so that's it.
Hmm.
Well, I think what we've looked at before does clearly says maintenance, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think it works.
Yep, I think that we could make an argument to say, too bad we're not paying this, and have it stand legally. It's a question of how much goodwill do we want to give them? How much, do we want to risk any legal blowback? Do we just say we'll offer to pay half or not at all? Looking for your direction on how you'd like to handle it.
Is it true that we will never pay lines 35 through whatever it is, 38? That's true? They're
That is
they're
that
giving
is
us $1,200 theoretically, if you want to call it that. I'm being generous, obviously, but
yeah.
they're already giving us that. I don't know. I'd be tempted to pay it all and just say, don't let it happen again, and quote the experience of like, hey, listen, here's the deal. In the future, we're going to not piss them off, just pay the bill and take the $1,200 we're going to get anyway and run and just pay it, and just say, if it happens again, we won't pay anything. That's what I would say, but I could go either way.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, there's no provision in the contract for like, we're only going to pay half because we're pissed. You know what I mean? That's not, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that we should probably look at this from a legal standpoint,
Right.
because you could figure out arguments either way. And I think legally we do not have an obligation to pay this,
I think that's
we'll
correct.
say.
That'd be my take, yeah.
So it's really, so I would say just throw out the legal stuff in your head and just say kind of like, what's the right thing to do? What's the action that's going to get the result that we want?
What do you think they would think? How would they answer that question if you asked that to them?
Yeah. I think that I don't think that they're going to make a big fight about it if we say, sorry, we're not paying it. I guess as an act of goodwill towards them, something about that doesn't feel quite right to me, of like, nope, we're not doing that, which is why I'm proposing the half.
Yeah, let's go with a half. I'll change my mind or whatever. Just that's not a bad move. And if they're pissed off, they'll tell us, and then we'll talk about it again.
Fair enough.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Gail, while we're looking at those, that one at 29 January Hills, back when that happened, there was some talk that may have been Eversource's cause there.
Yes. And
was
here's
anything pursued on that?
And here's the problem. It is October, November, December, January, February. 5 months later, I can't submit an insurance claim 5 months later.
Hmm.
I mean, I could, but they'd probably just laugh at me. And
Well, this is a really good argument about why we actually have been financially impacted by Crocker's not billing.
I agree with that. I was going to say the same thing.
Good point.
yep.
And here's we're paying half the invoices, and in fact, had the invoices been submitted in a timely fashion, we might have got reimbursed for our insurance company for some of it, so we wouldn't be paying as much. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got a 10,000 deductible. Is that, could we have got insurance on that? Is that true?
No, because it's a
Not-
$10,000 deductible.
not
So we would
from
have to
ours.
hit that threshold in order to
But
have insurance kick in.
But we could have gone after a third party here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eversource.
Right.
Yeah, I did talk to an Eversource representative back in October when this was all going on. I'll be honest, I think that getting reimbursed for any of this was a long shot.
I would think so.
You know, proving exactly who is on site and what they did, unless we had a you know, recording of it.
More cameras. We need more cameras.
Yeah,
That's right.
we need pet cams on every pole.
On every pole, yes. Yeah, like body cams for
Yeah.
police.
This discussion is an example of why recording this is terrible, because if we did in fact have legal standing, they'd pull us up and say, well, but you said, you admitted right here that you didn't. So we want to couch all this to anybody who's looking at this down the road. We are not lawyers, and nothing we say can be construed as representing a lawyer. I'm serious.
Thank you, Craig Martin. Legal disclaimer. That is a great disclaimer.
Or at the front of the thing, the views and opinions expressed in the following recording.
Mhm.
I mean, no, seriously, we don't know the law, so we shouldn't say one way or the other.
Yeah.
We can, it's okay to guess, but ultimately the law is the law, and that's what holds.
Yeah.
If this should ever go there, that's all I'm saying.
I think you could write a good letter to them. You could quote the 30-day thing from the contract, or highlight that and copy and paste it, or whatever, and say, we're going to pay half, that the fact that these were submitted so late to us means we can't go after anyone else for it. And that's a cost to us, Frank, or could be anyway. And see what they say.
I think it'll be fine.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for talking that through with me. All right. Well, let's go on to the next fun topic, which is the outage. So I'll just run through these one by one. Most of these are answers from Tim. So if you ask me, I'm unlikely to know anything more than what you see here. But if you have any follow-up questions, I'd be glad to ask them. So we talked about how many calls came in. So 87 total. Only the first 16 generated tickets, because the rest of them were caught by the answering service saying, don't worry, we know this is a problem. Stay tuned. We're on it. You just need to be patient. So Craig, this goes to one of your questions about, does the answering service get triggered? And they do, and they did in this instance. But it wasn't for several hours before they diagnosed what was going on and then relayed that. So Tim is going to work on improving that process to make sure that it happens kind of as soon as possible. Part 2 of that, which I've asked for, is a message to go to us as well. Ideally over SMS instead of email, so that, because I don't know about you, but my email was down. I couldn't get to it. If I put my phone in a window in a south-facing direction, I can get texts out. But if the internet goes down, my communication is gone, so I'm not going to get notified. So this is why I'm vying for let's get SMS messages out to the committee, when it's kind of like at the same time that they're notifying their answering service, a similar same message just gets pushed out to all of us with the status. Because I think it would have been helpful here.
Yep,
Tim missed posting on the status page, the Crocker status page, until I prompted him to do it again several hours afterwards. So he's going to put that into the process too.
You should make that a stack, like last in at the top, because at the moment he's got it the wrong way around. It's you don't want to have to read all the way to the bottom. It's better to have
Oh,
it's better to have the most recent thing, the summary at the top, or,
Yeah.
that should be at the top. So anyhow, he's just got it upside down. That's all.
All right, I'll mention that.
And if he leaves the history, it's good to see, it's kind of, it would have been good for us if we could have seen, even though they never posted anything on the 22nd of August last year. But it would be good to be able to look back and see what has happened. And so, there's no need for them to clear that stack ever. It's a good record and a convenient thing. One can look back and see when things happened and how many things happened. So that would be what my ask would be.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it actually makes things look really good.
Yeah.
We're only getting one of these problems every year, which is a great uptime.
He cleared his stack when he put in his new stuff. It would have been better to leave it.
All right, so we don't know how many customers were affected. They think it's between 87 and 160, but they really don't know for sure.
And it's nearly all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems suspicious.
Yep. So I'm not sure about why some of you had issues before noonish on Sunday, because they looked at those reboot records for the Juniper switch, and it did not happen until afternoon. So if there were problems in the morning, they claim it was unrelated to this.
That just makes no sense.
I agree.
Way before then.
Any time estimate on that, Steve?
I thought it was around 9. It may have been a little later, but
I sent you a text, Gail. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm pretty sure it had a time on it. I will.
Yeah, but that was until afternoon, though.
Wasn't it? It might have been. You're right.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't get that till, like mid to late afternoon.
So Craig, when you sent it, might have gone out earlier than when Gail got it. If there
That's
was...
right.
That's true too.
That's why I'm trying to look for it.
I just asked my wife.
No, mine was late. Mine was late. Mine was like 5:20 or something. But it might have been an hour before I called Crocker, and this was after I called Crocker. So
Yeah. Well, that all tracks then.
that tracks then, yes. So this is not. This doesn't predate.
Right. Nobody had issues after Sunday except for me, and that was due to my own meddling with my equipment. Craig, you had asked about, is their advice to power cycle the ONT correct, or would the router would have been better? And the answer is either one would have worked in this case, but they recommended the ONT because it covers both devices, and it's kinder to the devices to just reset the ONT.
Yeah, I saw that reply, and that's perfectly fine. I'm okay. That sounds good to me.
When they said kinder to devices, so the router doesn't like being powered down, is that what they meant?
No, I think what they mean is that when you power down the router, all of your connected devices go, we don't have a connection.
Okay.
Whereas when the router loses its connection to the Crocker, all the devices still think they're connected. They just aren't getting internet.
You're right. Okay. Things could log off of the your Wi-Fi stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I think what they're saying sounds good to me as a novice.
Yeah.
So hopefully next week we'll get some more information about what they hear back from the Juniper support regarding the root cause. This was the same issue as August. Interestingly, their team did notice and identify the similarity to the August problem, and that helped him quickly diagnose this one of like, oh, we've seen this before happening in Shutesbury, we know what's going on. And they pointed out that we have two switches. This particular issue happened to the other switch, not the one in August. So it's two separate ones. So they don't think it's a hardware failure. It's software, firmware, or configuration problem. Yeah, so this one is about DHCP leases, and that it's a 12-hour reset. And yes, if everything just was left to its own devices, so to speak, it would have gotten better eventually, but it would have gotten a lot worse first. They were generally happy with the Essentials support, keeping in mind that this was not a Calyx issue, this was a Juniper issue. So Calyx helped them diagnose, but it was not caused by them. And so we talked about earlier these code green, yellow, red, and how those go out to their answering service. And we will look into doing SMS messaging to all of us. I shouldn't say all of us, I should say anyone who wants it. I don't want to force messages on any of you.
And with me.
Yeah. The other person people I want to get on to here is fire and police, especially if our phones go down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In this, that was not a problem in this instance, but if we have a system-wide outage that does affect phones, I want Walter to know, I want the police to know about that emergencies could be happening and people have no way to call in.
And that's a really good point. You should make sure to Crocker that they specify whether it's internet, phone, or both.
Yeah.
For precisely that reason. I'll know I can just pick up my phone, but
right. All right. So we've gone through a couple of these outages. I think this is our third one so far in our, year and a half of operations here. Everyone, I feel like we're getting a little bit better at figuring out what the problems are and what the holes are. But anything else that we need to talk about to debrief this one?
I would say the other thing that Crocker should add to notifications to us is if for whatever reason the Crown Castle link goes out and we end up on MBI, because as we've discussed in previous meetings, suddenly we're going to be jammed down into a 200 megabits per second link, which is just going to it's just going to jam, and in fact, I think you're still going to talk to Tim Otto, right, to ask what strategies they would propose to fit us into that tighter little stream, because it's not going to work if everybody can do anything.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into something else that I'm working on with Tim, and that is setting up our redundant connection with MBI. Yes, we have one, and of course it's running out of our hut, but we had talked about having that at a different hut, most likely the North Leverett Pop, but it could be New Salem or it could be Wendell too. We have options because their networks are going now. What was I going to say? Oh, Matt's been on vacation for like 10 days. So hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have more information and have a list of choices for everyone about how to go about setting up that better redundancy, how much it's going to cost to make the switch. and yeah, just go over the options and costs.
And I would suggest it come from the Wendell direction just because it'd get geographic diversity instead of coming from the,
Yeah.
I guess Leverett's a little diverse, but
No.
Wendell is even more diverse.
Wendell.
Lev-
Wendell.
Wendell.
Yeah, the Leverett and the Shutesbury MBI connections both come from the switch at the State Police Barracks in North.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
travel through Hadley and Amherst, and then through Hadley, and then they split.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's the piece that would also not.
yeah, where the Wendell and New Salem ones, I think, come down from the north. So.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
From Wendell Depot.
That's got benefit, I think.
Yeah.
Storm from the south, storm from the north. We shouldn't just have a storm that gets everything, different altitudes and different latitudes. So yeah, no.
Before we leave this current outage, I just had a question here for Graham and Jim. Are either of you familiar with Juniper switches?
UMass loves them.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
they went from Cisco. Everything was Cisco at UMass until 10 years ago, and then we went to Juniper, and Juniper's rugged, holds up, hasn't been doing anything wrong. So, and it was cheaper than the Cisco solutions. So that month.
Steve, just for FYI, I've written our friends to the west, Leverett. I wrote Tom and George about what happened, because I think they have a Juniper Networks switches in their two huts as well, and I just thought I'd check in with them to see whether they've had anything similar happen to them, and if so, what they did about it. Thought that might be useful information.
Yeah, good, Jim.
I also Googled it. There nothing popped up as like network issues. I usually Google, network connectivity issues today, and there are places that'll tell you what's going on. There was nothing showing up.
All right, anything more about the outage? All right. Let's talk about budget.
Budget is oh, yeah, okay.
So I don't know how much we have to discuss this. It's the same thing that we looked at last month. This is the model for not reducing subscriber fees based on the fact that we are up for an ISP bid in the next year, and we don't want to lower the rates just to raise them. Also, we want to get a healthy reserve and pay off our debt as soon as possible. Steve, anything specific you want to focus in on?
No, since this is the same thing we looked at last month, I just will reiterate that with either this budget or reducing the rate by $5 a month, we either way will not be able to pay off the ban this August, but either way, I project we will be able to pay it off in August of 22.
Great.
Cool.
So an official order of business is that we need to vote on this to approve it as an MLP board to run it up the flagpole to the finance committee to approve for town meeting. So I would like to make a motion, and again, this is just the MLP board vote to approve this for town meeting pending select board and FinCom approval.
Second.
Thank you. So MLP board only, go ahead and vote. So
Aye.
aye. Great. Okay, great. Unanimously approved. We will have to go in front of the FinCom to talk about this. They want to know about it, of course, even though it doesn't really affect their budget at all, but just to keep an eye on us. So I have not heard from Becky when this is, when we're slated to talk to them. Jim, do you know when the next, or Eric, when the next FinCom meeting is?
I'm
This-
FinCom unaffected these days, so I don't know.
Oh, very nice.
It's next Tuesday, this
Okay.
coming Tuesday. That's the next meeting. And that's when I thought we were on the, I think that's when they're expecting us.
All right. I haven't heard anything from anyone asking me to be there. So I will check in with, who should I check in with about that? Should I check in with Becky, Jim, or should I check in with FinCom chair?
Jim Walton.
Is the chair.
Jim
Okay.
Walton.
I'll just go right to Jim.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
Okay.
Do you have his email address, Gail?
I
I
think so. Yeah. If you have it handy, I'll take it.
You keep talking amongst yourselves and I'll
Okay, thanks. All right, so we did the budget. Steve, would you like to do the budget presentation at that FinCom meeting, or would you like me
Sure.
to do it?
Sure, yeah.
Great.
Just let me know when it is.
Yes, I will.
And I'll need a link to the meeting.
Yep.
I'm just stepping out to get some more notes.
Okay. All right. So I know that Graham is working on the getting the signatures for his nomination to the board. How are you doing with that, Graham? Do you need our help with that?
I don't think so, but if I do, I've gone until the 27th of April, I think it was. So,
Okay,
so it doesn't look too hard. I keep on bumping into people and
good.
they don't seem to be they seem to be quite inclined to sign it.
All right, I'll need to ask Steve the same thing. Well, also, during our last meeting, we had a discussion about doing a kind of a security inventory of, just having somebody look at Crocker's security system. It was all instigated by the Four Winds hack attack that was back in, I don't know, I think January. So kind of an audit of Crocker's security practices to make sure that they were just following industry standards. It's in our contract, but we don't know what those industry standards are. None of us are security experts. And I did not take good notes on that about what we decided.
Gail, you mentioned a state IT crowd, someone who works a department, right?
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right. So that's a Becky thing. Right. She was, she was, a state IT audit for this kind of thing.
Because it's free and, they're probably doing nothing right now. So
Right.
I'm kidding. I didn't say that, Jim. I strike that from the minutes.
Okay, great.
You're on video.
I know.
Right.
I'll never be able to be president, Craig, because they'll find all the facetious things.
You're Australian. You can't be president anyway.
Vice president. I meant vice president. Sorry.
Okay, vice president. All right.
No, I don't think I can be vice president either because they're the next in line. So
yeah, Secretary of State. Could you do that?
no, I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But not now because of all my silly statements.
Yep. The other thing I'm waiting on from Becky is the ongoing tree list. It was mitigated at some point in the last 4 months, but I've never got my list back from her about what was done and what wasn't. If she can't provide that, I may be looking for a volunteer sometime over the next month to just do a drive around to the target areas to see if they still need mitigation or if they were taken care of. And Steve, a question for you. Did you, are you all set with your nomination papers for the MLP board? Do you need help getting signatures?
I have not done anything on that.
Okay.
I really question why with COVID, they're still requiring actual signatures. It just seems ludicrous to me. You know, we sold a piece of property a couple of years ago and never had to sign anything with pen and ink. It was all done with e-sign. And
It's to stop totally crazy and invalid candidates getting on ballot papers, I think. It's pretty reasonable.
well, anyway, I've not done anything about it. So, and I'm
Okay. So the April 27th is the deadline for that. If
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. Steve, you can get the papers from Grace. I know it's a pain. If you need our help with signatures, let me know and I can organize a little signing party, something like we all show up at, 11 a.m. to the town hall and just do a drive-by and sign your thing if you need it. Okay.
Yeah, it's only 20 signatures, so it's pretty simple to do in that sense.
The one little twist this year is that you can only get one household, according to the governor's regulations. You only get one household on a sheet. So typically you get two. So you need 12 sheets if you're going to get 24 signatures. If
that's not a requirement. I can tell you that's not a requirement.
Okay. So Grace just tossed that in there.
Yeah, that's what they ask people to do. But if you do it the other way,
yeah,
the old school way of like 20 or 25 on a sheet or whatever it is,
I figured
works.
that. Yeah, I figured that because it's a very well-established principle, isn't it? If the intent of the voter is clear, then there's nothing trumps that. Yeah.
I think that is it for my list. Does anybody have anything else?
well, I can give you the financial report if you want.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I skipped over that and went right to the budget approval.
So, according to my spreadsheet, our current balance is 187,300. At our last meeting, there was a question of how much we had spent to date on maintenance when we were talking about the budget and reducing the maintenance budget. And I didn't have that figure easily available, so I've added another tab to my spreadsheet that gives me that breakdown. I do get the breakdown by category from the accountant, Gail Weiss, but there's a lag in getting that, and I like to know as soon as we paid a bill what where we stand on everything. So far today, fiscal year 21, we've spent 24,391 on maintenance, but I have additional bills in-house that haven't been paid. So if you add all those up, we're up to 31,000 in maintenance. But of that 31,000, 14,000 of that is for equipment inventory that we've bought. 3,480, almost 3,500 is for new drops. So the actual bills for break fix incidents is 13,500 plus this additional amount we're going to pay that we just discussed. So, it's now we've got another 3.5 months left in the fiscal year. And we can have additional storms, but it's just, not running that high at all. This got me curious about that 108,000 we had in our budget, which I said, well, like, we got that figure from Leverett, so we just put it into ours and thought, well, what's Leverett actually running? So I called Margie and ran this by her, and she gave me their actual experience. Their 2021 budget for maintenance is 102,000, but their actual expenses for 2017 was 100,000, 2018 was 91,000, 2019 was 104,000.
Good
Whoa.
grief.
Whew.
Yeah.
What are we doing right?
No, but they did have
Wow.
significant money coming back to them from insurance, from customers for new drops, they did get money back from Eversource for something ranging 16,000, 20,000, 57,000. But the point is still they're running in the range of 100,000 a year in upfront maintenance expenses. So
Yeah, it must be just active Ethernet, right? That is
Well,
causing everything to repair.
What? No, it-
there's,
They've gotten more bare primaries on their power lines, so they've had more of them than we've had. They've had about 3 shorts from primaries, I think it was.
yeah.
I also remember from a while back that some of their problem, at least one of their problems, was something that was thought to be an improper grounding during installation.
The lightning stuff, yeah.
And so if our installation was done better than theirs, we could be having less problems than they are for that reason. And I'm just guessing, I don't really know, but.
Well, Millennium is known to have really done a crappy job in Leverett, and they have been paying for that. And I think they've been paying for it ever since. So I think that's our good fortune, is that we hired the right people and they were forced to hire the wrong people.
Yeah, the install was not as good a quality.
Yeah.
And the other one, they were unlucky with at least one big fire that burned down a pole and cooked the cable.
Oh, right.
So that was, and that ended up one of those insurance claims, but it was like a $30,000, $25,000. It was a bunch of money.
So, but you think they recovered all of that?
Yeah. Tom Powers said they got all of it back. I think he said.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good one to know, because it's obviously all our poles are next to roads, and sometimes those roads are icy. It's very reassuring to know that cars are insured in Massachusetts for that sort of problem hitting poles. So we're in good shape there.
Steve, so the grand total to date is roughly 31,000. Is that what you said?
correct. Yeah.
With things that are going to be paid, and in other words, that's sort of the current total.
That's what we've paid, and for bills that we actually have in-house.
Okay.
But that of that, 14,000 is for inventory, 3,500 is for new drops. So that's why the actual break fix was about 13,500.
Yeah, that is cheap. That's nothing.
Of course, it would have been more if we'd been billed for some.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more, though.
But we have been billed for most of it now. Theoretically, that's was the first discussion we had, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also a lack of weather, isn't it? Microbursts can come through. The microburst down on January Hills Road, that could have set us back, couldn't it, Craig?
Yeah.
That was a big mess of poles, pine trees.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're comparing us to Leverett in the same current time period, seems to me we're doing really well.
Yeah.
That's really bizarre.
2019 was the most recent year that Margie had the figures for. She didn't have 2020, what they actually spent. But, it's consistent year after year, 3 years in a row. spending in the range of 100,000 there in leverage.
Mhm.
So
Oh, that's great.
So when we look at in 2 or 3 years, when we look retrospectively at our costs, we want to make sure that these items that are zero in our current thing are actually estimated at what they would have been when we go to actually cost out what our history's been. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I have this estimated cost column for
Good.
anything that was not,
And that's the number we should be using 2
yeah,
years from now when we're asking how much did we spend 2 years ago?
right,
If we're trying to project forward.
right,
Good point.
right. Steve, I'm putting installations on a separate tab here instead of including them with all of them. So
okay.
just so you know.
Yep. Good.
So Steve, the 31,000 figure does include installations and
It does.
parts?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
does. Oh, okay.
But keep in mind for installations, we're only kicking in $300
Uh-huh.
at the most.
And inventory is a third of that, basically.
And-
Am I understanding that right?
Which I assume we're building up an inventory, and we will not be looking at spending that every year.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
we're gonna.
that's an investment.
Yeah, we should be good on inventory for I would say 2 years. And I just put in another order for 15 more ONTs to last us for 2 years. I don't know. I just been following what's been going on in like the electronics and the construction industry. And there's still these lingering supply chain issues and a big pent up demand. So I front loaded our supplies.
And if Biden is successful in pushing forward broadband initiatives, that's only going to get worse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's fabulous that you're doing that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, there is a temporary broadband relief bill that's going through. It's been circulated through some of the my counterparts in other towns. So I am looking forward to it. I don't have almost no details on it, and with a lot of these federal programs, trying to get the money out and the paperwork required to get the discounts, especially if it's a temporary thing, it just may not be worth it. So anyway, I'll keep you posted. I should have more at the next meeting.
Gail, Steve, once again, I'm sorry to bring this up. What is the approximate cost for just the repairs? Was it 12,000 something? What? Oh, yeah, I need that figure.
13.5.
13.5. Okay. Since July 1st.
That's right. Yeah.
Steve, I have a random financial question for you. Do you remember how for when you're doing MLP accounting that there's an 8% limit on retained earnings for that? Like you can't, any kind of waterworks or electric company or a broadband MLP can't earn more than 8% profit per
I'd have
year.
to
Retaining.
What's jumping to mind with me that was the Chapter 164 MLP accounting and not prize fund, but I'm not sure on that.
Okay, well, that's actually was my understanding too. I just wanted to get another brain on it.
That's my understanding too.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
The understanding that it doesn't apply to us, right? Because we're
Right,
enterprise. Okay.
Yeah.
right. It does not apply because we're enterprise funding it. Okay, great.
This is time for the I'm not a lawyer disclaimer
I am not an accountant disclaimer.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about disclaimer.
The disclaimer.
Right.
But I'm glad to throw in an opinion anyway.
Fake news disclaimer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Steve, are all of our retained earnings up through July 1st, 2020 are all going to pay off, help to pay off the debt, right? This August.
That's the plan. We'll have to put that before town meeting
Mhm. Of course, yeah.
On the town meeting warrant to appropriate those funds,
Mhm.
the ban payment in August.
All right. Anything else?
The only thing I was wondering about is, I mean, there was talk about a broadband party way back when. Remember those? Remember the good old days? I mean, I know it's still COVID and I know blah, 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 but is that anything we should still be talking about, or somebody should still be talking about for obviously the future, but
COVID has ruined that, and it ruined. Gail and I were promised a dinner, weren't we, by the select board if we turned in our annual report before the December 31st, and COVID has taken that away as well, I'm afraid.
has it taken it away permanently? I guess that's my question.
Well,
No.
oh, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Unknown.
Yeah, unknown. Well,
Okay.
I think we kind of have to like wait and see. And even if maybe this summer, just the committee could get together and have some chips and beer and hang out. That would be enough. That would be. My
Right.
expectations are so low right now for
Yeah, right.
so low. That would be thrilling. That would be fine.
We do still have that account there from Asha's former employer. That's what's it, $1,000 sitting there.
I think it's more like 3,000, but I could be wrong.
There's a good party.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Interesting.
All right. Well, should we call it a night?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I will talk to you in a month.
Gail, I did email you Jim Walton's emails in your email. There's his address.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, great. And Steve, I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay.
Well, hold on just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see whether just give me a moment here. I was wondering whether oh, George has responded. So let me see what he says. Jim, sorry to hear of this. What a pain. No, I am pretty sure we do not have that architecture. I think the DHCP servers are dedicated machines running in HGE's Holyoke facility. It's definitely something I'll ask about. There you have it. That surprises me because I was pretty sure I saw, well, it's been a long time since I've been inside of their huts, but well, I'm sure George is very thorough, so he's interested and he'll comment back on this, and maybe we'll learn a little bit more about what is really going on.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
See everybody.
Bye-bye.